Please come back here and join us now. And please give a big round of applause to our next speaker on What's Next in the Cloud by Mr. Aswin C., Senior Technical Evangelist from Microsoft Malaysia.
Hi guys, my name is Aswin. I'm the Technical Evangelist in Microsoft Malaysia. Okay, so thanks for being here. Thanks for not leaving. Right, I'm sure that you guys want to go back home, but I'm assure you that those that stay outside of Setia Alam, you guys don't need to worry about the jam, right? Because you guys are going against the traffic itself. Okay, so I stay in Setia Alam, right? So I don't worry. Okay, okay, so let's talk about some of the things that innovation or digital transformation that we have around cloud nowadays, right? So like technology itself, technology is actually omnipresent, right? A lot of the companies right now, they actually create digital transformation across 4 core areas, right? First, they engage their customers, they change the way they engage their customers. Social media, they have their own CRM tools. They transform the product, they integrate all the social media tools into their products, making it easier to do, making it mobile. They empower their employees as well. If let's say you guys can see just now, Nintex did things like, for example, they allow field workers to snap photos, to fill up the form and all those, right? And fourth is optimize your operations as well, right? So all these digital transformation are really important towards transforming the whole industry and your business itself. So let's take a look at why is this transformation actually very important, right? So this is some of the statistics, okay? So the statistics is that 1 million devices, new devices per hour that's gonna be activated by 2020, right? So with the emerging of IoT devices, mobile devices, laptops and all those, right? So we're gonna have that kind of huge amount of devices that comes online. Then after that, 60% of the computing in the public cloud will be adopted by 2025 itself, right? So it's really huge, right? So the transformation that is really going on, and what you can do about it, and what's next in for the transformation itself. If let's say you guys take a look at these slides, right? You guys are, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with these slides itself, right? So Netflix, Uber, Skype, Amazon.com, right? So all of these companies, they are born in the cloud, or either they have adopted the cloud in a huge way, right? You can see that their growth is really huge, right? That if let's say you guys can see Uber, you guys can see Skype and all those, right? So the transformation that they or the disruption that they have gone through is really huge to the businesses around the world itself. But for Microsoft, the way we look at every company is that every company is a software company, right? So like, for example, some of the companies that we work together with, for example, JP Morgan, Walmart, Ford, and GE, right? You guys can see that each of these companies itself, they are transforming themselves into a software or software-driven company, right? So they innovate themselves, right? Like for example, in GE, they are putting 70% of their application on the cloud to improve flexibility, and they are launching game-changing application to improve their efficiency itself, right? So for example, they implemented IoT together with Azure, right? They are being able to actually do remote monitoring, and then after that, at the same time, also being able to predict, to do predictive maintenance as well. Okay, so this is the change of mindset that we wanted to share with you guys as well, right? So instead of thinking infrastructure, right, buying servers, buying servers, maintaining servers, and all those, right? We want you to focus on innovation, right? So as you guys can see over here is that previously a lot of people actually buy servers. They have virtual machine and all those. Then after that, the next thing is that in terms of time of adoption, we also introduce platform as a service, so that you guys can actually innovate quickly. Doesn't need to worry about servers anymore, and then just focus on your application and data itself. Okay, so this is the changing world of app development that I mentioned earlier on. For example, you have changed from physical machine, virtual machine to cloud infrastructure, and then what you want to focus on is actually born in the cloud, right? Being able to leverage the platform as a service that we have, that cloud provides, and then being able to innovate itself. So why is PaaS is really catching on, right? So let's say your app is a car itself, right? So if let's say you imagine IaaS, right, infrastructure as a service. If let's say you guys are familiar with cloud computing, we actually categorize them into three: IaaS, PaaS, SaaS itself. So IaaS is you can operate your own car, right? So you do your service maintenance, your own patching into the operating system and all those. Then for SaaS, something like Office 365, you just can take the taxi. You don't need to worry about maintaining the servers, maintaining the software updates and all those. But what's in between, right? So let's say you have your own application, right? You have your own data. So what's in between? Because like, for example, Office 365 is operated by Microsoft solely, right? But what's in between? You want to operate your own application, but you don't want to maintain servers. So that's where PaaS actually comes in, right? You just rent a car, right? Or you just rent a service. We maintain all of the OSs for you guys. You just deploy your application itself. Okay. So this is the differentiation factor, or the balance of responsibility when we talk about cloud, right? In terms of so on-premise, for example, you need to take care of everything, right? So you need to buy rack of servers, subscribe to Unify and all those, right? For IaaS, you doesn't need to worry about that, right? So, but you need to take care of the OS, middleware, runtime, data in your application, right? In PaaS, you just need to take care of two, which is application and data itself, right? So that's the beauty part of actually PaaS, and I'm gonna just share with you guys PaaS and then some of the new stuff that we are doing right now. So let's go back. So let's just recap a bit of Microsoft Azure. How many of you guys never seen Microsoft Azure before? Oh, okay. So Microsoft Azure is our Microsoft public cloud platform itself. So we have a lot of services. As you guys can see, I wouldn't be able to cover all of them. I'll be just covering the application platform. Then after that, I'm covering some of the cool stuff that we have, which is our artificial intelligence tools and the conversation as a platform tools as well. Right? So these are all the infrastructure. Whether you guys need VM, you guys need a storage, you guys need backup, you guys need identity management and all those. Everything is available at in Azure itself. Okay. So currently we have 38 Azure regions. So if let's say some of you guys are operating in overseas as well, so you guys wanted to make sure that your application is available to the users overseas, making sure that the applications run really quickly and all those. So you guys can choose of all of the 38 regions that we have right now. So in fact, it's actually 34 that's online. 4 has been announced. France, 2 in France, 2 in US, right? That we're gonna launch this year itself. And with having 38 regions, right? We are actually 2 times larger than AWS, right? So that is the ability that we have, the investment that we put into our public cloud computing itself. Okay. It's the most trusted and compliant cloud. We are PCI DSS compliant, right? We are the only certified by EU itself for privacy policy. Then another one would be in terms of in German also, we also certified for their data protection policy and privacy policy, right? So when you guys go into Azure, right, so you guys can assure that it's compliant cloud and it's the most trusted. That's the most important thing when you guys want to go into cloud, right? You guys want to make sure that the cloud itself is secure. Okay. So besides that, I've met a lot of customers, even ISV startups and all those as well, right? Is that a lot of people thought that, hey, Azure Microsoft, so Microsoft only runs Microsoft stuff. No, not anymore, right? So we are pretty much we are adopting a lot of open source, right? So if let's say you guys have any application, SAP for example, right? SAP not really open source though, but you guys can run open source in Azure. You guys can run Oracle in Azure. You guys can run IBM DB2 in Azure. You guys can run WordPress, name it, right? In Azure itself, right? So a lot of things can be run in Azure, right? So that's the flexibility that we give and openness that we give to our customers. Okay. So let's take a look at application innovation, right? So how do you guys why you guys should adopt PaaS, right? Platform as a service, and then to be able to innovate even faster, right? So this is not from Microsoft. This is the Forrester Total Economic Impact result. This is studied by Forrester itself. So they say that by adopting PaaS, right, Microsoft Azure PaaS, so 80% of IT time is saved, right? Why is that so? Because you don't need to worry to buy, install OS anymore. Later I'm going to show you guys how can I quickly set up a website in just a few seconds, right? So that's the benefits of using a PaaS layer. So in terms of the Azure application platforms, we have a lot of stuff that you guys can use. One of the basic one would be app service, right? So you guys just deploy your website over there. Service Fabric, let's say you guys are looking into things that are more microservices type of application, like Azure Function. So this is something new. If let's say in the industry right now, they are moving into what we call serverless, event-driven application, right? So there's no server at all. So when you call the cloud, it's actually based on events. For example, when you insert a statement, insert a record and all those, what do you want cloud to do with the record? Maybe they inserting into database, send notification and all those, right? So that's the event-based and serverless drive type of functionality. Of course, we also have other PaaS as well that's provided by our third-party providers, like for example, Cloud Foundry, OpenShift, and all those. Okay. So together with our cloud PaaS, you can build apps faster and easier, manage application proactively, and deliver native mobile apps seamlessly, right? So just imagine any of the application that you guys want to build, right? Or you guys want to host, right? So you guys can actually just use our cloud and then quickly have the application up and running, right? So in terms of application, right? So the thing is that a lot of people say that, hey, I'll just manage things on the Azure portal, right? So we have Azure portal that allows you to manage your application, deploy your application and all those. So this is in terms of for IT, right? But what if, let's say, you have 600 servers, 1,000 servers, right? So how can you actually manage all those applications or all those server easily, right? So we have, like, for example, things that, like, for example, application insights that allows you to pull insights from your application. But secondly, we have what we call operation management suite that allows you to actually monitor, deploy your servers, your application using the OMS itself. Okay. So this is the workflow. If let's say you guys have workflow of mobile application, right? So we have a total suite of mobile development operations altogether, right? Total solution of it. Okay. So while all these slides and all those, right? So you guys might be wondering, okay, so you guys, you told me about PaaS. So how cool is PaaS, right? So let me just quickly demo on the how you guys can get started with Azure App Services. Then after that, we're gonna take a look at that. Can I switch over to my laptop? Okay, so here's the Azure dashboard itself, right? So you guys can see there's a lot of services on the left, right? Whether you guys want to create virtual machine, SQL database, and etc. But what I want you guys to focus on is that I want to quickly create a website, right? An empty website that allows you guys to quickly have your website up and running, right? So I just go to web and mobile, click on web app. So just give a name to my website, right? So my website gonna ends up with like .azurewebsites.net. But of course, if let's say you guys have something, your own domain name, right? For example, aswin.com, right? So you guys can actually CNAME against it, and after that, so that people don't know that you are running on the cloud or anywhere, right? You don't want to expose that, maybe. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I just put an application name. So since I'm at Satya Alam, just put a satyaalam.azurewebsites.net. So over here, I create a resource group. So resource group is where you want to group a bunch of resources together, whether it's database, website, and all those. So it's just a grouping way. So app service plan. So app service plan is where you choose something like Happy Meal. You guys know Happy Meal? Happy Meal is McDonald's, right? So this is where you want to choose which plan that you guys want to go with, right? So I can choose location first. So we have 34 locations, right? So I can just choose the nearest to us, Southeast Asia. And this is where you want to choose your Happy Meal plan, right? So the good part about app services is that you guys can start for free, right? So when you guys do development and all those, then after that, of course, go up to something that is basic, standard, and then premium itself. So I'm just gonna choose standard, click on select, click on OK, pin to dashboard, and then I click create. Right. So over here, so while it's deploying, right? So just want to quickly show you guys as well that, hey, let's say because journey to the cloud, right? It is a journey itself, right? So if let's say you guys want to quickly migrate over things that is in your servers and all those, you guys can use what we call the IaaS, the infrastructure as a service itself. Okay. So let's say for you guys to use IaaS or VMs, right? So we have VMs also. So you just go to compute and see all. And these are all of the images, server or OS images that you guys can deploy on Azure. Whether it's Red Hat, Ubuntu, SQL Server, then what else? CoreOS, DataStack, Cisco, BizTalk, LAMP, and etc. Right? So we have a lot of server images that we work with third-party provider for them to integrate with Azure itself. Okay. So I'm not gonna go through that. Okay. So what happened is that while I'm showing you guys that, right, is that my Satya Alam website has been up and running, right? So in just a few seconds. So imagine that in PaaS itself, I don't need to worry about installation of OS. It takes time. Installing web server and all those, I don't need to worry about that at all. So let's say I click on my URL, satyaalam.azurewebsites.net. You guys can see that I have my website up and running, right? in just a matter of seconds itself, right? So that's the beauty of PAS, right? So another beauty of PAS is that, for example, if let's say you guys wanted to integrate with your own source control, right? So the way you actually go and store your codes and all those. So all of these are supported, whether you guys want to deploy your code into as simple as OneDrive or Dropbox, right? Or you guys can actually integrate with GitHub. Everything is integrated inside app service itself. Okay, so let's say I want to add more servers. Like for example, during peak hours and all those, right? You guys want to scale up, or making sure that your application can cater to the load that you guys have, right? So what happened is that we can do automatic scaling, right? So what it means is that over here, if let's say I say that, hey, if my CPU is, or my server is between 70 to 90%, please increase one server. So it can do that automatically itself, right? And then after that, when the load goes down, then it can go, it can decrease the numbers of servers. So what's the benefit for you guys is that you only pay for the extra servers during the period of the time that you guys increase it, right? Let's say you guys increase to 2 servers. You guys just need to pay additional servers for that 4 hours, right? So that's the beauty of the cloud and PAS, right? Easily you guys can add a numbers of servers itself. Okay, so let's go back to the slides. So that's the part of the PAS. Okay, so besides application innovation that I've shown you guys, right? So there's a lot of other functions that you guys can tap into, app services, functions, and all those, right? Is that we have a lot of data, right? Your companies have a lot of data about your customers, about your employees, about your own operations and all those as well, right? So how you guys want to tap into or support your business strategy with the data itself, right? Being able to predict, to do maintenance, whether to do some customer churn analytics and all those, right? You guys can actually just use Azure for that. So this is the kind of workflow that we have. Like for example, on the left, you guys have a lot of data sources. You guys have multiple database, whether it's comes from SAP, comes from SQL Server, comes from multiple data sources itself, whether it's web, mobile, and all those. You guys can pump into our data factory, right? Then after that, from data factory, we collect all of the information in our data warehouse. And then with all of the information that you guys have collected, so what do you want to do with it? Whether you guys want to do machine learning, right? Whether you guys want to do stream analytics, being able to look at real-time data and all those, right? So we have end-to-end way of analyzing your data, being able to predict, and then at the end, you guys want to visualize it. We can visualize it using PowerBI, which is later the speaker gonna talk about later on. Yep. So the thing about machine learning is that usually there's quite an investment that you guys need to do. So firstly, you guys have to have data. Secondly is that you guys have to have usually data scientists to make sure that you guys can do the machine learning part, right? Being able to design the models for the machine learning. But what if I tell you guys that Microsoft has created some APIs, what we call intelligent API, connective services APIs, that you guys can tap into, right? So we have this product called Connective Services, is part of Azure as well, right? That actually exposes all of these machine learning capabilities, or AI, right? So we have vision, right? We have speech, we have language, we have knowledge and search, right? So let me just quickly give you guys a demo instead, so that you guys can see how cool is the API that we are opening up for developers to use. Can I switch to my laptop again? Okay, so this is the intelligent kiosk application that's already implementing the connective services API. So you guys don't need to hire data scientists, no need to have, like for example, many photos just to recognize certain things and all those, right? So what I want to showcase is that one of the cool demo that I have over here is on the mall kiosk. So imagine, right, what if, let's say, you guys can create advertisement based on the personality of that person, right? So if, let's say, in this case, we have, for example, male, female, right? So if, let's say, male, I show advertisement that is more manly. Female, I show something that is more feminine, right? So let's try. So I'm gonna take a picture of myself. Okay, so what it does is that the cloud or the connective services is analyzing me, right? That's slightly older. I'm not that old, though. Okay, so it detects that that's who am I because I already put in my name earlier on, right? And what it does is that it shows me something that is manly, right? That is power drill, right? So if, let's say I were to show some lady and all those, right? So it would show me a different advertisement altogether. So this is the targeted advertisement that you guys can imagine or can do. Besides that, right, is that we have what we call emotion API. Let me just quickly open up. So what if, let's say, I can extend that digital advertisement into looking at the emotion of your users. If, let's say, you want to know and see your product, whether they are happy, whether they are sad, whether they are surprised, and all those, right? You guys can do that with cognitive services. So let me just try to do this emotion photo booth challenge. So let me smile. Okay. So how do I do surprise? Disgusted. Disgusted. Oh, that's sad. Okay, I'm not sure how to do disgusted. Yeah, so you guys can imagine that it can detect different emotions that you guys have, right? So some of the startup that we work with currently also implementing this. So what they do is that they want to, so one of the example is that they want to make sure that their staff every time in the cashier, when they greet the customers and all those, that they smile. So the POS itself actually go and capture the customer that they are smiling all the time, right? So that's one way of what they have done. But so there's a lot of other demos that I have over here, right? So for example, let's say you guys want to do things like for example Vision API. So for example, Vision API, it knows the context of the photo, right? The context of the photo itself. So for example, I'll just use the suggestion photos. So for example, like this guy, right? So what happened is that it knows that this guy is 38 years old, approximate, is a male, right? Then after that, you would see that over here, the description is that it knows the context. A man is swimming in a pool of water, right? So it knows the context itself. Okay, so that's the cool part about using the cognitive services, right? So there's a lot of APIs that you guys can go through as well. Another one is Bing News Analytics. So this is where we integrate our Bing search together with our analytics to know whether people are happy or people are not happy with certain news, right? So for example, let's go something neutral, right? Microsoft. So what happened is that Bing search gonna search through all the internet, find all of the relevant news and all those, and see whether people are happy with the term that you guys are using or not, the sentiment, right? The sentiment over here. So the overall sentiment over here about Microsoft is positive, 79%. There's some negative one over here as well, right? So you guys can see like certain news, for example, like this news that, okay, so how one teacher is using Microsoft technology. Of course, this is Microsoft website, but what it does is that it reads through all the content. It detects whether is there any negative words, any positive words, and all those, right? And then being able to come up with the sentiment analysis itself, right? So that's the power of the connective services. So there's a lot of things that you guys can do with connective services, but let me just go and proceed with my slides. Okay. So besides having the connective services that you guys can implement on web and all those, right? Okay, how many of you guys don't use WhatsApp? Overall, everyone use WhatsApp, right? That is the new part of the next thing that we have right now, which is the conversation as a platform, right? So everyone chats through Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Line, WeChat, and all those, right? So how do you want to interact with your users in this way, right? In the conversation as a platform itself, right? So over here I have what we call a bot, right? Chatbot itself. Chatbot allows basically a bot to reply to your users. So why is this a good thing? Is that, for example, let's say sometimes you just want to do a request just using chat itself, right? No need to go through mobile application, no need to download mobile application, no need to go to the website to do some orderings and all those. So that's the beauty of having a chat platform. So over here, this is the chatbot that we have. So for example, over here, right? So it reads your customers, it knows the natural language of your customers. Like for example, let's say I say, find a flight to Singapore. Instead, maybe I use look for flight for Singapore, search for flight for Singapore, and all those. It knows the intention, it knows the context, then it's being able to actually reply to that as well, right? So prompt with choices, you guys can prompt with choices. You guys want to integrate with your CRM tool, Dynamics, and all those, you guys can do that, right? So let's say your bot actually implements the connective services, you guys can do that as well. Okay. So I don't really have time for demo though. Okay, I'll just quickly do a demo, right? Okay, so what happened is that just now, like half an hour ago, so what happened is that I already created a bot, right? In just half an hour, I created a Q&A bot itself. Okay, so what happened is that I have my bot over here. Where is that? Okay. Oops. A great bot. Let me just quickly load it. Okay. So I already implemented it in Facebook Messenger, as you guys can see over here, right? So what it does is that I use a Q&A maker service that actually reads through the frequently asked questions inside the SP Setia website, and then able to build a bot in just 30 minutes itself, right? So maybe I'll just ask hi, right? So it's gonna reply to me. So, okay. Then after that, what happens is that maybe I'll just ask a certain question, like for example, when do I apply for financing and all those, right? So when do I apply financing, right? So I'll just do a grammar mistake over there, right? So it's able to understand my questions, right? The financing part. Then after that, being able to actually to reply your users with that context. This can be done with 30 minutes. But if let's say you guys want to integrate with certain things that is even richer, if let's say something that bot couldn't really answer anyway, you guys can actually just use a human to take over that conversation. It's possible to be done that way as well. Okay. So the great part about bot is that you reduce your human capital in terms of answering all of the managing the chat message and all those, and then being able to focus on things that matters. Okay. Can I go back to my slides again? Okay. So in terms of Microsoft, we have it's a trusted platform, Azure, right? It's open. You guys wanna deploy any application, whether it's Windows, non-Windows, and all those, you guys can actually deploy on it. Then after that, try to leverage on the platform as a service that we have, whether it's serverless, whether it's app service and all those, you guys can apply that. And the fourth part is the data and intelligence. You guys can actually quickly come out with a intelligence, right, based on the data that you guys provide. For example, cognitive services based on the photos that you guys provide, it's able to return you the results and all those. Okay. So of course, with customer success that we have, our momentum has been great. Microsoft has been in a great shape. So we have 194 billion of external requests made to Azure App Service itself, the one that I mentioned, right? We have 750 million Active Directory users, and more than 90% of Fortune 500 companies use Microsoft Cloud. Okay, so the next step for you, for everyone over here, right, is that you guys can take a look at Azure, right? So some of the things that you guys can migrate to cloud easily is all of this stuff: backup, archive, DR, internal business app, customer-facing apps, and all those, right? Then after that, you guys can actually evaluate slowly migrating it into Azure, SAP, SharePoint, Red Hat, and all those. Okay, so that's it from me, right? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Aswin. And next, we're going to have the final presentation for the day on the Power BI. Win your team over with the Power BI. Please help me to give a big round of applause to Mr. Ang Ko Wei, Business Analytic and Consultant from SL team. A big round of applause to Mr. Ang Ko Wei.
I'm so fortunate to be the last speaker. So let's get the ball rolling. Just a quick introduction of myself. My name is Cohen. So I have 13 years experience implementing data warehouse, business intelligence, data analytics with a wide array of experience. That 13 years experience has given me the opportunity to stand here and to talk to you about Power BI. Now, I come from a company called Excel Team, all right? Excel Team has been around for a long period of time, and we specialize in just doing business intelligence, data analytics, and so on and so forth. For more information, do drop by our booth to find out more information. The key gist which I talked about Power BI is how we can empower our team, win over our team. Now, it is basically beyond doubt, and what Aswin has told you, for example, market forces are happening, all right? Our industry is changing, and that, for example, is changing the information delivery. Why is it happening so, for example? Just look at the number of startups that's happening, for example. Look at the number of competitors that's coming up, the new ways of delivering products and services. All these are challenging traditional business models, revenue generation, challenging the top line, how you save money, so forth. Business has to respond. Your management have to respond. Management is now asking you to, for example, we need to achieve operational excellence. We need to maximize our revenue, blah, blah, blah. So many different things. A lot of disruption is happening. Global demographic shifts. Our customer base is changing. We have millennials now as part of our customer base. There's Internet of Things that is coming in. You're going to dump loads of data, right? And it's going to affect things like, for example, operational excellence, because you have SLAs. You don't need to have a person manually recording whether things are on time, late, or broken. Sensors and robots are going to tell you all those different things. One has to look only at the marketing profession, how it has evolved. Marketing now is a number crunching game, all right? Ever since social media came along, all marketing profession needs to be aware of the digital marketing strategy involving social media. Remember the time when everyone was scrambling on how to measure ROI for digital marketing strategy, all right? So this is how we want to work with data, all right? This is where Power BI comes in. Power BI enables self-service business intelligence. All right, and talk about self-service Power BI, for example. All right, we're talking about 3 key aspects. Number 1, empowerment. You're empowering users. You're empowering your staff. You're empowering your bosses, for example, to work with data. They become more accountable. They have more control about how they would like to improve their performance. All right, and then secondly, about agility. You're able to make decisions faster. All those things, how we want to respond, right? There must be some kind of strategy, some kind of planning, because not any business will cowboy and say, okay, let's do this, to try and beat our customers. It's not as simple as that. A lot of planning goes into there, for example, and once you put information at the fingertips of employees, then you have agility. And thirdly, productivity. all right? The role of IT, for example, has always been a bottleneck. Oh, IT, I would like to have a report. Please wait for 3 days. Please wait for 1 week. That's not happening anymore. IT's role is changing from a report generator into a facilitator, helping, for example, business departments, business users to create more output, for example, based on the data, and also helps with the innovative functions of all the different departments. When I talk about innovation, we know that big data and business intelligence is weaving intelligence into every function within the organization, whether it is finance, HR, operations, product development, marketing, finance. Things are going to change. Right? Things are going to change. Things are already changing right now as we speak, depending on the type of industry you are in. Some industries have become a sunset industries. Professions have begun to change. All right? Big data is here for us. Everybody knows that. When we talk about big data, there's only 2 things we like to talk about: data consolidation and data sifting. All right? This is a diagram which I found on Digital News Asia. It talks about the concept of a data lake. What's a data lake? Data lake has been around since the past few months, ever since big data has been gathering a bit of awareness. Data lake is just saying, for example, dump all your data inside here, just like a reservoir, all sorts of data. Nobody knows what it is, but just dump your data there, and then some guy called the data scientist will sort it out or sift the data. So when I mean by sift the data, what does it mean? What does sifting the data really means? Sifting, it actually, for example, you have to sort out the structured and the structured data all lumped together in one big ball of mess, what you see here: human resource, customer service, sales, blah, blah, blah. And you know, data science is a profession. Number 1 IT job now is what? Data scientist. All right? And data science is about, for example, data sifting. Right? You have data consolidation, which is just one part. You have data visualizing, which is the second part. You have data sifting, for example. That is the bulk of the work, how you can manage the data, for example, deliver effective information to the people who need to make the decisions. All right? The modern analyst now bridges the gap between business and technology. No longer an analyst is just only concerned with business processes. He needs to be able to deal with technology side of things, which involves a lot of data. For years, the movement has been around to empower users with data visualization and able to deal with data to become more agile. All right? Technology has enabled us to do 2 things. Number 1, do data modeling and data visualization. Traditionally, these are all IT stuff, but now, for example, it's coming down, for example, to all the different types of users, because data is going to be plentiful, all right? It's not just coming from IT right now. You can buy market-related data. You can, for example, collect customer information, and you can't wait for IT to serve everyone. You have to be able to work. You have to be able to interpret the data and able to communicate the results, communicate the insights, so that you can, for example, take the right actions. And this is where, for example, I talk about Power BI Desktop. Power BI Desktop, for example, is a free software. Go to powerbi.com, download it, experience it, use it. All right, it is a free software. All right, it has a few components. Number 1 is called query editor. Now, at this point, for example, I just want to bring up an analogy. For example, we've seen cowboy movies where a cowboy would throw a rope at a cow, for example, and then bring the cow home. All right, the cow is your data. That rope is the Power BI query editor. All right, it allows you to wrangle data. It shapes and transforms the data based on your needs, and then load the data into a model. Now we continue with the analogy, for example, of the cowboy and the cow. All right, in the data view, for example, this is the butcher. All right, you cut the cow into multiple pieces. Right, this is the data view. All right, you're able to see, inspect, explore all sorts of data. Pick my prime cuts, for example. All right, from the butcher. This is the data view. All right, and thirdly, the relationship view allows you to establish the relationship. This is like your recipe or a cookbook. These are all the different parts which I want. How do they relate to each other? For example, I'm not going to put, for example, kimchi sauce in a rendang, for example, right? Correct. So this is how we know that which are the components of data relate to each other. Relationship view tells you all that. And finally, in Power BI, you have the report view. This is your kitchen. This is where, for example, you cook that part of the cow, for example, you garnish it, you make it look pretty, for example, and you serve it to your bosses. Your report. All right? So this is basically what Power BI does. It empowers the users at the personal level to become more effective. Okay? Much more than that, there is the PowerBI.com, which I mentioned before. Power BI is not just a software that you install on your laptop, but you can use Power BI as a cloud service. All right? It has lots of capabilities inside there. For example, where you can continue to monitor data, share your insights with a lot of people within organizations. All right. The conclusion that you can see, for example, as a result of this presentation is, number 1, the data modeling provides interpretation to transform raw data into information and understanding. And information and understanding is what we want. data visualization provides the communication, and there's different ways of how we want to deliver information to our stakeholders, like our management or bosses. There's enterprise reporting, Crystal Reports, reporting services does all that. You have self-service BI, this is where Power BI comes in. You have mobile reports, for example, that basically delivers information to your mobile devices. Predictive analytics allows you to forecast, assign scores or probabilities of what's going to be likely event in the future. Scorecards help you to monitor KPIs, and location intelligence blend location-based data, for example, with your reporting data. And much more than that, not just on a personal level, if we begin to grow, for example, the entire data analytics into organization level, then we are talking about a data analytics culture. To start and sustain the data analytics culture, it requires awareness, it requires overview, for example, in developing a framework and align it with business and the goals, KPI. If not every department do their own things, it's very hard to align each other. You need to enable your users to be able to use this kind of software, to be able to deal with data. There's lots of strategy that needs to be involved, and finally, adoption, all right, to sustain, for example, all these things. If not, just like what happened in most BI cases or data warehouse, the software becomes a white elephant. Everybody revert to manual paper-based reports, all right? In the end, for example, or it's just lip service, all right? So this is the most key things, for example, which I want to talk about within the Power BI. So I just end my stuff with a very simple demo of Power BI, all right? So this is sales summary dashboard. I hope everyone can see it, all right? Sales summary dashboard, for example, of business selling flowers. At a glance, for example, I can see the results of my last 2 years and this year. And so like so many businesses, for example, in 2017, because of due to bad economic times, sales this year is about 40 or 50% of what was last year. Very bad, okay? As a matter of fact, you see this trend recurring. Then you can see year on year what was the performance, the cumulative year-on-year sales for last 2 years, this year and this year, and who contributed to this year's sales. For example, these are all the different companies. So happen that I'm interested in Grand Hyatt, for example, as a customer. When I click on that, I can drill down and view what are the sales so far for Grand Hyatt, the type of products that they like to buy, order from us. For example, they order a kind of flower which I have difficulty pronouncing their name, all right? So all these things, information, you can, for example, very quickly derive the information that you need. Okay, whether it is you're looking at the visualization like this, or for example, you like to view the data, for example, exactly as the number, for example, so that you can satisfy the needs of the stakeholders involved. Much more than that, you have other functions that allows you to slice and work with data, for example, looking at multi-year analysis, 2 years, for example. All right, this is, for example, we're looking at 2 years. And when I talk about self-service, all right, typically if I need to look at year on year, I need to go back to IT and say I need to customize report. But now, for example, with these new capabilities, all right, I can do, for example, more analysis. All I need to do is pull in the year component or the year part of the cow, for example, put into my legend. Immediately I can see for each of my customers who has actually ordered more last year but didn't fulfill enough orders this year. All right, this is where which I'm more concerned, because they could be going to our competitors, for example. They stop our orders, this will affect our top line, and as a result, for example, our sales will suffer. So that's why you can see our sales is right here, bottom down here. All right, so this is a quick example of what we can do with Power BI. All right, how you can, for example, answer different questions, and also as well handles ad hoc questions and queries. Okay, so if any questions, do drop by our booth. My name is Cohen. Talk to our consultants relate to that. We have a lot of experience that we can share with you. And with that, I will end my presentation. If I have time, I'll just handle some questions. Okay, so there's a question that says Power BI integrated with SharePoint. Okay, direct integration is coming, all right? It's coming on the way. Power BI, Microsoft says have plans, for example, to allow Power BI dashboard to be published on reporting services. So once that happens, then it will be able to integrate with the SharePoint portal, all right? Okay, all right. So this is, I hope you guys took something back away from my presentation, so I'll not hold you back any longer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Ang.